So I've recently been advised that I must inform everybody that I am in fact a Cisco employee, but that the video content of my videos here do not represent Cisco or the position of Cisco in any way whatsoever. Cisco Extended Detection and Response PNM sensor install for version 24.04 with the 5.1.3 version of the flow collector daemon. So just like before, we're going to go into our XDR analytics portal. We're going to click on the little question mark in the upper right, go down to on-prem sensor install, and there's our new ONA there at 24.04. We're going to go ahead and download that. It'll take a minute. I'm going to build the PNM sensor in my lab, VMware lab using vSphere. The process is pretty much the similar if you were to do it in Nutanix or Proxmox or Hyper-V or something like that as well. But there's a couple key things I'm going to point out in the vSphere environment to make sure that the PNM sensor auto runs like it's supposed to. One point I want to make here, though, is you don't need to run this in a virtual environment. You can, it's an ISO. You can install it on a piece of hardware, and I actually have done that with customers as well, just using a small microcomputer or something like that, loading it up on there. As long as it's got some decent CPUs and memory and stuff, and you can run it on a piece of hardware itself. So, but most people I run into actually do run it in some kind of virtualized environment. However, but that's not a requirement. Like I said, it's an ISO. You can install it on just about anything. So the minimum requirements have been updated a little bit from the previous PNM sensor, and they are now 2 cores, 4 gigs of RAM, and 60 gigs of hard drive space. A little bit more than it used to be, but still quite reasonable considering how much work this little device does. Okay, so let's go ahead and build our little PNM sensor, new virtual machine. We're going to call our lab-pnm-sensor. PNM again stands for Private Network Monitoring. And we need to put it on one of the servers. This server looks good. I know it has a lot of hard drive space. See right there, a whole bunch of capacity. 32 terabytes. That should be enough. All right, this is important. You want to make sure that when you're setting compatible with, choose ESXi 7U2 or later. If you're using, vSphere 8 or ESXi 8, make sure you're using 7.0U2 or later compatibility mode. Trust me on this. Okay, guest family, Linux, Ubuntu 64-bit. And let's go ahead. It recommended 2 CPUs, 4 gigs of memory, and 60 gigs of hard drive space. For most every implementation, this is going to be sufficient. You don't need to make memory or CPU reservations. The only time you might need a little bit more hard drive space if you're using span or port mirroring and you're mirroring over an awful lot of traffic. But honestly, in most deployments, this will probably be sufficient. And let's go down here, put it in the correct network, which is my internal network. That's where we're going to be doing this from. Connecting the CD device. It is in the content library on my device here. And here it is, 2.62 gigs. There's my ONA. It used to stand for Observable Networks Appliance. We call it PNM now, Private Network Monitoring. One thing though that I do want to call your attention to is go over to VMware Options, go down to Boot Options, and also make sure that the firmware is set to BIOS. It can be either EFI or BIOS. Trust me when I say for this device you want it to be set to BIOS. And that should do it. And go ahead and click Finish. When you boot your device, this is going to be the first thing you pop up to. It's going to say install the ONA using a static IP. Yes, you do want to do that with a static IP. You don't want that IP address changing. That really hasn't changed for us. And it goes through all of its boot up stuff. All right, we got to our language selection screen now. We're going to select English and keyboard. Yep, English. Done down at the bottom. All right, this is the new network interface. This looks different than it did previously. We're going to go up here. I'm going to select it. The NIC that I have, I'm going to edit my IP address. I do not want it to be DHCP, so I'm going to go down to manual. And for the subnet, it's going to be 192 for my lab, 192.168.128.0/24. IP address of this guy is going to be 128.168.250. And the gateway 192.168.128.1. And for the name servers, I'm going to use the umbrella servers. If I can type the IP address in right, there we go, 208.67.222.222, comma for a separation for the second one, 208.67.220.220, and my lab domain is example.com. And let's click save. All right, applying changes. Next screen, we're going to put in our user ID name. Is going to be PNM admin in my case. My server name, same username here, PNM admin. And I'll give it a lab password too. Now, I'll probably do a video that shows you how to hook this into your Active Directory domain again, like I did with the 20.04. So we'll see if there's anything different, but this will be good for our basic admin name. Let's go ahead and click done. Yes, we want to continue. And this part's going to take a bit of time, so I'll probably speed up the video through this, but it does take a minute to do the install from here. Once the install is done, you're going to tab or arrow down to reboot now and click enter. It's the login screen you're going to get when you first reboot it. Let's log in with our PNM admin, put in our password. And the first thing I always like to do is make sure the host file is updated with our host name. You're going to find that this is going to save you a lot of trouble, especially when you do the ICE integration later on. So we're going to go into Etsy, cat out the host name, and then I'm going to go into the host file itself, cat that out, and see that it says, it's connected for the loopback, but I'm going to put our address in here as well. And trust me when I say that you're going to want to do that too. We're going to do that with Vim. Go down here, and let's put it in 192.168.128.250, and it's going to be lab-pnm-04.example.com. And then I'm going to put it in just as lab-pnm-042. Save that. Oh, WQ, not QW. And let's cat it out. Looks good. So we got that right. Now we're going to go in and configure the PNM sensor to connect to our specific XDR portal so that it knows where to send our telemetry to. So we change directory to /OPT. That's OPT /OBSRVBL ONA. And we're going to give ourselves an LS here real quick to look at the files in this directory. Looking at this, you're going to see three files at the top that start with config. Those are the ones we're going to be focusing on. There's config, config.auto, and config.local. Don't mess with anything in config or config.auto. Any customization that you're going to do, you're going to want to do in config.local and only in config.local. Okay, so this time we're going to use Nano. I used Vim last time. We'll just use Nano just to show you can use either one. They're both in here. You can see it pops up with this strange name, ONA-C4. Let's remove the hash value, and we're going to change this to our name. Otherwise, in the XDR portal, it'll show that dynamically created name there. So we're going to make it ours. And we're going to add another line, basically, observable service key. And that's the service key we're going to get out of our XDR portal. And I'm going to paste it in here, and then I'm going to block it so you guys can't see mine and, you know, send your telemetry to my specific device here because I don't want you sending any telemetry to my portal. So I'm going to be blocking this out. But you paste it in there with the quotes, and that should be good enough. You can Control X, save. Yes, we do. Config.local. We're good to go. Going to restart the service using the sudo service obsrvbl-ona restart command. And then you can hit the up arrow, back that out, and check on status. And it looks like everything is up, enabled, and good. Now I use the sudo service command, the old sysvinit system. The new way they want you to do it is to use the systemmd command, systemctl. But I've been typing in sudo service for so many years that I just do it naturally now. But this is kind of interesting, is from what I understand, and this is a behind the scenes thing, even if you use sudo service, it actually calls systemmd behind the scenes anyway. So it sounds like you're using it either way, but that's probably going to work for quite a while. To verify that your PNM sensor has been configured correctly, you should go into the XDR Analytics portal, and you're going to go up into that portal, go to Settings Sensors, and it should appear on the page displayed here, just like mine. And you can see ours is there, lab-PNM-04. One thing is you want to give it a few minutes. It doesn't happen instantaneously. You do everything, you restart the service. It kind of takes a minute or two to kind of build it up. So if you go up there immediately afterwards and it's not there or it's partially there, just give it a few minutes and it should get all the information exchanged that it needs to and register itself correctly. From the same page, we're going to go in here and configure. Nope, not lab PNM1, wrong one. Lab PNM-04, settings, configure NetFlow IP fix. And we're going to add a new probe. Probe type is going to be NetFlow version 9 for our example. Port is going to be 9995. Protocol UDP. And standard source, go ahead and click create. And there it is. Looks like the probe is enabled and ready to receive. Now, I've talked about what port you receive telemetry on in other videos. 9995 for version 9 of NetFlow is what the Cisco documentation says to use. But obviously, 2055 has kind of been the traditional port we received it on. But to be fair, you can receive it on any port. Um, but what is important to keep in mind, though, is that for every different telemetry type, the little PNM sensor flow collector daemon needs to receive it on a different port. So if it's NSOL from like a FTD or ASA firewall, you're going to receive that on one port. Regular NetFlow version 9 is going to be on another. NetFlow version 5 on another. IP fix on another port. So you just don't want to try. We can't just set up one. It needs to receive it all on a different port, and that's still true in 2404. Now we're going to configure an exporter to send NetFlow to the PNM sensor. So remember, an exporter is anything that can send telemetry, router, switch, firewall, something like that. Some endpoints can send telemetry, but it's just basically, an exporter. When I use the term exporter, I mean anything sending telemetry to the flow collector daemon on the PNM sensor. In this particular case, we're going to use a Meraki device. I've done different things for you guys in the past. Firewalls, routers, and switches and stuff like Catalyst switches. This time I'm just going to do it in the Meraki portal. From the Meraki portal, we're going to go to Network Wide, General. And we're going to scroll down. We're looking for NetFlow. It's usually somewhere around there. It is. NetFlow. And we're going to enable it. And we're going to put in the flow collector IP address 192.168.128.250, and we're going to send it on 99.95. All right, good. Looks good. Let's scroll to the bottom, click Save, and let's go down and verify it. And oh my gosh, that was so much easier. There it is, enabled. So much easier than the way we had to do it on the command line. From the command line of the PNM sensor, sudo tcp dump -n, using -n because I don't want it to resolve host names, port 9995, enter. Now in a real environment, you probably want to use the source keyword 2, but right now I only have one device sending telemetries, and that's that Meraki device. So it looks like we're receiving it just fine. So we're good to go. Verifying telemetry in the XDR analytics portal. We're going to go into the same place, setting sensors, find our lab PNM04. We're clicking on all sensor details, and there it is. You should see a bar graph starting to receive the telemetry. Now you got to give this about 10 minutes. It takes a minute for it to come in here and then be reflected up here in the XDR analytics portals graph here. So give it about 10 minutes, and you should start seeing something in there. To find the service key, we're back in the XDR portal. We're going to go to Settings, Sensor, same place we looked at that sensor. Scroll to the bottom, and there it is, says Service Key. Click on Show, and you can copy it. I'm not going to show you mine, but you would click on Show and then copy it, and then you could paste it into your PNM sensor.